By way of introduction, I'll say I hesitate to share the story because, I will say because of confidentiality and because I kind of did a nice thing, and by sharing this in public, I feel like I'm boasting or whatever, and I don't want to sound that way, whatever. And having said that, I'll say I don't take a breath apart from God, much less do anything good apart from Him. So I will obscure logistics and the person's name involved. And even so, if I breach storytelling protocol, you can tell me and forgive me. And I guess here we go. A couple of things I like to do for people that I guess a lot of people don't do is assist disabled motorists and pick up hitchhikers. I think because I find that very few people like to assist disabled motorists and pick up hitchhikers. I tend to have a greater fear of life than death as a rule. So there's a couple of things that I do. I carry a gallon of gas in my vehicle at all times, and I find that at least a couple times a year, I find somebody who's run out of gas, put a gallon of gas in the vehicle, and off they go. I don't know, I hesitate to say this, but I'll go ahead and say it. Show of hands, who in this room has ever called 911? Looks like about 40%. Who in this room has ever called 911 at least 10 times? 2. Who in this room has ever called 911 at least 100 times? And I know that's outrageous, and my hand is up. I'm a former firefighter EMT, and I hesitate to say that in public, but at least 90% of the time has been for a disabled motorist, who typically is in a precarious position on an interstate. I'm always polite, respectful to the dispatcher, and I've never been called out on it, and I've done it so many times that I'm surprised they haven't called me and said, hey dude, you're doing this too many times. But I'm not the guy at the drive-through complaining about my order. I'm just calling because somebody's in a precarious position, and they say, hey, we'll send somebody out. You know, that's what it does, you know. So I've done that many times, but on numerous occasions I've stopped and helped somebody, you know, whatever. And sometimes I've taken a family to a place and got them a gallon of gas, whatever. Anyway, so, and then numerous times I've picked up a hitchhiker, and it seems that more often than not, I'm a significant different distance away from my home when I pick up a hitchhiker, and more often than not, it's a long distance hitchhiker. So my habit is, I know typically where the truck stop exit is, a significant distance away, maybe 30, 40 miles, and I'll take that person to that exit because there's a better chance that they'll get a long distance somebody to take them a long distance. Okay. So anyway, so the day before the last slam, I went to work that morning, and so happened they didn't need me that day. I got the day off work. So I called my dad, my brother, and my sister, and we all went out for brunch. And that was good. And we did that, and it was about noon. And I decided to do some shopping distance away from my home. Did that. I think it was about 4 o'clock. It was a cold, blustery day. I remember coming that next night, and I remember it was a snowy, kind of messy day. So I know it's that kind of weather. But the day before was a cold, blustery day. And here's where I'm going to obscure things. I don't want to tell where this gentleman exactly lives, and I'm decided today of calling Jerry. So I'm heading home. I'm about 5 miles from my home, and I'm not going to tell you where I live. You'll find out eventually, maybe. And lo and behold, it wasn't snowing that day, but all of a sudden this squall kicks up. I mean, a heavy snow squall. I knew it wasn't going to snow all day that day, but this heavy squall kicks up and really high wind. And I'm about 5 miles from my home. I'm in a high-speed lane, and I come under an underpass, and I just happen to glance over, and there's this gentleman walking on the slow lane berm with a small duffel bag. And so I'm almost on him already, so it's too late to get him right then and there. So as quick as I could, I'd buzz over and pull over to pick him up. And I'm maybe 100, 200 feet past him, and rather than back up, I got too much junk in my passenger seat. So rather than back up, I'm trying to clear the stuff to get a place for him to sit. But I can see he's trying to catch up to me, and I noticed that he's got a pretty significant limp. So I felt bad that I couldn't back up for him, but I didn't, and I clear my junk, and he catches up to me and he gets in. And I hope I can remember all these details. It's probably going to take as long as I thought it would. So he gets in, and so Jerry gets in, and turns out he has a prosthetic leg, his left leg. So he gets in, we start driving. Well, the truck stop in question in this case is about 20 miles. My house is about 5 miles. I'm like, well, no big deal. We're going to go to the truck stop exit. And so off we go. Well, I'm, I was going to say, I'm 54 years old. When I turned 40, I didn't have a midlife crisis. I had an awakening to what matters and what doesn't in life. I became dramatically less materialistic and much more relational. And now I'm 54. I just don't care about material stuff. I'm totally not materialistic. I still enjoy some stuff. And now I'm 54. And just about all I care about is people and relationships. I don't mean to, whatever. I don't mean to say, but I really do. I just love people. And I just pick up a conversation. I pick up a guy and a hitchhiker, and I'm just right into who you are, where you're born and raised, da 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 da. And I do this with hitchhikers, and it's fascinating, it's fun, and I learn about total strangers within 20 minutes. And so I did this with Jerry, and within 20 minutes I know where he's from and so on and so forth. And was more than a little interesting with Jerry, and so he's from a city, and it's convenient in this story that he lives in a city of a certain size, about this size. It's about 90 miles from here. Conveniently, there's Lexington, Louisville, Indianapolis, and Columbus are all about 90 miles from here, so you can pick whichever one you want for this story, and you won't know which one he's from, and there you go. You can all picture whichever one you want, and that keeps it obscure. And so we head off, and I started asking where he's born and raised. Well, he's born and raised from the Deep South, and but he was given away at birth for adoption. He'd never met his birth mother. So, how do I want to say? I'm just going to be sketching the details just as it comes back to me. So anyway, this, that, and the other thing. Is his adoptive mother tells him his birth mother was kind of a no good, whatever. But as his adoptive grandmother says, no, that wasn't the case. She was a good gal, but she just couldn't take care of him. Had to give him up. He had a great relationship with his adoptive grandfather. They went hunting all the time, et cetera, et cetera. When he was 15 years old, they were hunting one day, and he was in a tree stand, and he fell asleep in the tree stand, fell out of the tree stand, and the .30-06 went through his left femur, took out 4 inches of his left femur. They tried for a month to save it and could not, and that's why he has a prosthetic left. So I'm getting this story, and I'm just falling in love with this guy, And we get to the truck stop exit, and I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, he doesn't know specifically where the truck stop exit is, because he's really not from around here, which exit I'm specifically taking to him, and I just keep driving. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna take you home. We're just having an engaging conversation. So, I just fell in love with the guy, and he's telling me his whole life story, and within an hour, he does tell me his whole life story. And well, as it turns out, he says when he turned 18, his high school sweetheart moved to the far industrial north, and then he decides after she gets up there to follow her, and he does, and after a bit of time, she decides it isn't going to work out, And so he heads back to the Deep South, gets as far as one of these 4 cities in our area, meets a few people here, and decides to stay. Within a few years, this is feasible. I've heard it actually happen that all of his adoptive family members have passed on. So now this gentleman lives within 90 miles of us. He has no one left in his life. And so he talks about this longing to meet his biological mother. And I found it very interesting and heart-tugging to me. The double scenario, he would love to meet his adoptive mother, but he's just as concerned about him finding out whether she's turned out okay, as he is concerned about her finding out is he turned out okay. You know, he's as concerned about her finding out that he's not as good as she would have liked him to be. You know, I was like, oh, Jerry. I'm like, oh, Jerry. I'm like, he's got a church family in the city where he lives now who want to help him find her back in this Deep South small town where he's just got, there's a name in a record somewhere. He doesn't know the name, you know, the original name. I'm like, boy, Jerry, I'm sure they could, somebody, the way they do things now, that somebody could find it, you know. And I said, Jerry, I said, I guarantee you, whatever the scenario, I guarantee you there's a mama out there somewhere who would love to meet her boy. You know, I just tried to encourage you to do this. And so anyway, so we get to his current hometown, and you know, I said, the do-gooder part of me is really actually somebody else gave me a gift card a year ago. I remembered that I had an Applebee's gift card in my pocket, so this was somebody else's doing it. So we pulled out the exit, and I saw a cop at the exit, and I said, "Where's the nearest Applebee's?" So we went to dinner, and he said it was actually the first time in 2 years he'd had a steak and potato.
Oh, wow.
And I took him home, and anyway, I'll give another detail and give something away, but. It to me kind of tied in. I would have done this anyway, but it felt like it kind of tied up the whole theme tonight, the Lost and the Found. So here's a guy that's kind of lost, and then the Found is just right there on the edge. It's like, you know, he did give me the his needs to pay the bill on his cell phone number. You know, he's disconnected because he needs to pay the bill. He still has the number. It's his number until he pays the bill. So I intend to, you know, visit this town someday and you know, reconnect with him. But so I'm not, you know, this kind of story's been all over the place, and I'm not sure what I'm doing with it here. And hope you enjoyed it. But I hope to some degree, somehow or another, inspired you all to one way or another, you know. Still a work in progress, but the story's hanging out there too. I didn't have a place to finish it. I don't know. I you know, back to that 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 4-year-old thing. I just reached a point where it just my whole life for all around love God and love people, and I'm a work in progress myself. I guess that's it.
Yeah.